You know, Hayao Miyazaki's films, they just feel like they're from another world, right? But what if I told you that world is actually right here, all around us? Today, we're diving deep into his masterpiece, Spirited Away, to uncover the very real, very ancient philosophy that makes it all tick. And it all starts with one kind of weird question.
I mean, think about it. The movie just throws this at you. All these gods and spirits, big and small, showing up at a bathhouse. They're there to, kick back, relax, and get clean. But why? Seriously, why on earth would a god need to take a bath? Well, it turns out the answer to that question is the key to understanding the entire film, and honestly, a huge part of Japanese spirituality itself.
All right, so here's our game plan. We'll start with that bathhouse, then jump into the wild world of Japan's 8 million spirits. After that, we'll get into this key idea of Kegare, or impurity, see how it plays out with the infamous river god, and wrap it all up with a big question for all of us.
Okay, first up, the God's Grand Bathhouse. This whole thing isn't just some cool fantasy scene. Nope, it's actually a clue, and it points us straight to the heart of Japan's native religion, Shinto.
So, to really get why a godly bathhouse is such a mind-bender, you gotta think about how most of us in the West picture gods, right? Whether it's the Greek gods up on Olympus or the god of the Abrahamic traditions, they're usually seen as, well, perfect, all-powerful, they exist way up here, and we messy mortals are way down there. They're totally separate from our world.
But Shinto? It's a whole different ballgame. It's what you'd call an animistic tradition, which is a fancy way of saying its core belief is that the divine isn't out there somewhere in the heavens, it's right here, with us, woven into the very fabric of the world. The sacred and the everyday, the spiritual and the physical, they're all tangled up together. And that is exactly why a god might get dirty and need a good scrub.
All right, section 2. This idea that spirits are literally part of our world, that brings us to what's known as the world of 8 million spirits. And you really have to get this to get Miyazaki.
So at the very heart of Shinto, you have the kami. Now, we often translate that as gods, but honestly, that's a bit misleading. Kami aren't these all-powerful, perfect beings. Think of them more as the spirits or the supernatural life force that lives inside, well, everything.
There's this amazing phrase in Japanese, Yao Yorozu no Kami. It translates to the 8 million gods. But hold on, it's not like someone actually went out and counted them all. 8 million is just a poetic way of saying the number is infinite. It's uncountable. Basically, they're everywhere.
So where are they? Well, they're in the wind, the rain. They're in those huge mountains and incredible waterfalls. A kami could be in a cool-looking rock you see on a hike, or in a super old twisted tree. Heck, even the spirits of our ancestors can become kami. See, the world isn't just a stage where gods do their thing. The world itself is alive with spirits. The philosopher Thomas Kasulis really nailed it when he said this. In Shinto, the material world and the spiritual world are totally intertwined. You just can't have one with the other. And that idea, right there, that's the engine that drives pretty much all of Miyazaki's work. From Totoro living in his giant tree to, yes, the spirit of a paved-over river.
Okay, section 3. So, this brings up a huge question, right? If spirits live in the physical world, what happens when we humans, well, mess that world up? This brings us to the idea of Kegare and how Miyazaki brilliantly updates this ancient concept for the modern age.
So in Shinto, it's not really about a battle between good and evil. It's more about the constant push and pull between Kiyome, which means purity, and Kegare, which is impurity, or like a spiritual stain. The whole point of a lot of Shinto rituals, called hare, is to basically wash away that Kegare and get things back to a state of balance and harmony.
Now, traditionally, Kegare was stuff that just naturally messes with the flow of life. We're talking about things like death, sickness, bloodshed. It's super important to note, these weren't considered sins or moral failings. They were just seen as natural but messy states of being that you needed to purify yourself from to get back in balance.
And here's where Miyazaki does something absolutely brilliant. He takes this ancient spiritual idea and he points it directly at us, right now. In his world, the biggest sources of Kegare aren't just natural things anymore. No. The modern stain is industrial pollution, it's environmental neglect, it's human greed, and our out-of-control consumer culture. Which brings us to section 4. And honestly, the perfect example of all this in action. Purifying the river god. Yeah, we're talking about the iconic Stink Spirit scene. It's basically a modern Shinto purification ritual playing out right on screen. So, you remember the scene, right? This massive, stinking blob of a spirit shambles into the bathhouse, and everyone is just disgusted. They want nothing to do with it. But then Lin takes a closer look and says he has a thorn in his side. Now that line, that's not just her seeing something sharp, that's her diagnosing the root of his spiritual sickness.
What happens next is a perfect harai, that purification ritual, broken down into 3 steps. First, they find the source of the problem. That thorn isn't a thorn at all, it's human-made junk. Step 2, they remove the Kegare. The entire bathhouse staff gets together and pulls out this mountain of trash, including a whole bicycle. And then, step 3, the kami is restored. Once all that modern pollution is gone, boom! The stink spirit transforms back into this magnificent laughing river god. It's pure Shinto philosophy.
And get this scene wasn't just something Miyazaki dreamed up. He's actually said the idea came from a real experience he had helping to clean up a local river. And guess what he found stuck in the mud? A bicycle, just like in the movie. It shows you how his art is directly connected to his real-world beliefs.
And this isn't just a one-off thing in the movie. Think about Haku, right? The whole reason he's forgotten who he is, forgotten his name, is because he's the spirit of the Kohaku River, a river that was literally filled in and paved over to build apartments. So from this Shinto point of view, that's not just environmental destruction, that's a kind of spiritual violence. It literally wiped out a kami's identity.
So let's bring this all together in our final section. What's the point of all this? Well, it leaves us with a really big philosophical question about restoring our own balance with nature.
Here's the big idea that ties everything together. If you just try for a second to see the world through this lens, that every river, every forest has a spirit, then suddenly pollution isn't just a physical problem, is it? It's a spiritual desecration. It's a defilement of the sacred, and that means it needs more than just a physical solution. It needs a spiritual one, a return to harmony.
And you see this idea all over Miyazaki's work. It's not just Spirited Away. Think about Princess Mononoke. The hero, Ashitaka, he's not trying to pick a side. He's not trying to destroy the humans or the forest gods. His whole goal is harmony, or wa, a really central idea in Japanese culture. He just wants everyone to find a way to live in peace.
So it all comes down to this. In a previous explainer, we talked about how a master smith fuses soul and steel to create a katana. In the same way, Miyazaki's work asks us to see the fusion of spirit and nature. So I'll leave you with this question. What would change for you, in your life, if you started to see the divine not just in some faraway heaven, but in the river that runs through your town, in the trees in your local park, in the very air that you breathe?